I got to give you a message from our good friends at America First Policies. You know, a CIA director, Gina Haspel, she's going to work to combat radical Islamic terrorism while expanding American power across the globe. Despite strong bipartisan support from the intel community, guess what? Democrats and liberals in the United States Senate, well, they're opposing her. Why? Just because she got nominated by Trump. Qualifications don't matter anymore. Putting politics before our national security. The American people, well, they deserve a fighter like Gina Haspel, don't you think? It's time for every patriot to take a stand. Call your senators today, 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121. Tell them to support Gina Haspel as CIA director. To learn more about America First Policies, please visit americafirstpolicies.org. This message paid for, authorized by America First Policies Incorporated. Go to americafirstpolicies.org. Joining us now, Congressman from the Beaches area and a leading candidate for the Republican nomination for governor of Florida, Representative DeSantis. Great to have you with us, sir.
Well, good to see you. I'm glad you're down in Florida. I hope you can stay a while.
Well, it's great to be in Jacksonville. We're having a lot of fun here. And great to be on the great, big WBOB AM 600, this blowtorch in Northeast Florida, Daytona Beach, St. Augustine, all points in between. Congressman, there's several political action committees that are spending a fortune trying to tarnish your candidacy, derail you before the August Florida primary. What's their beef here?
Well, it hasn't worked because a lot of what they're putting out is demonstrably false, and people recognize that. But, it's funded by special interest groups who want a candidate who's going to do their bidding. And I'm just somebody who's always stood for taxpayers and tried to put my district and my state first. And they don't like that. And so they're running a bunch of stuff, and they spent several $1 million, I think, already. It hasn't dented our support because people understand, what they're doing is fueled by special interest money, and it's factually false and has been debunked from everywhere from Breitbart and Conservative Review on the right, but even, left-wing folks like Huffington Post have acknowledged, these ads are just totally false.
And so where are they getting the funding for this? I mean, who's behind it? Do you have any idea?
Well, it's been reported, and I think this is probably pretty credible, that U.S. Sugar Corp is the main funder behind the ads. They are very, very supportive of our Commissioner of Agriculture. Obviously, they're a company that gets massive government support and subsidies, and so that's something that they want to protect, of course. So it's a pure special interest play, and I don't think that Republican primary voters want a candidate who's going to line up there. I think they want a candidate who's going to line up with taxpayers. And, oh, by the way, the folks who are funding this stuff, all those people were against Governor Scott when he ran in 2010. To a man, they opposed Rick Scott, and look how good a job Rick Scott has done for us.
He's been one of the best governors in America, no question about it. We're with Ron DeSantis, congressman from the Beaches area. He's a former Navy lawyer. He's an author. He's in the House. He serves Florida's 6th congressional district. He's been there since 2013, and he is running for governor of Florida, and that'll be decided in an August primary. A number of candidates in it. We have him as the favorite. Ron DeSantis, you also got the enthusiastic backing of President Trump. Not every day that the president weighs into a crowded Republican primary field for a particular candidate. Why the love from Trump?
Well, look, he's somebody that appreciates leaders, and he was not involved in politics electorally before he got elected president. He comes into D.C., and I think he looks around the swamp and says, a lot of these guys are just career politicians. They don't stand for anything. And so a guy like me, he says, Ron, you're strong. He called me on Fox and Friends the other day an absolute warrior because he sees me out there fighting on principle, fighting for my constituents. And, of course, I've supported his agenda of reducing regulations, reducing and reforming our tax code. What he's doing internationally, the story still hasn't fully been written, but to destroy the ISIS caliphate and then now have a chance to potentially denuclearize the Korean Peninsula, this is really, really big stuff. And so I'm proud to have him in my corner, and I look forward to seeing what more he can accomplish the rest of this year and then obviously into the future.
Congressman DeSantis, because you're in the House, let's go national for a minute. Then we'll get back to the issues that revolve around Floridians and the Florida governor's race. Let's go national. The president looks like within a week or two, we might get a date for this historic summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Other presidents have attempted to get some sort of nuclear proliferation off of the Korean peninsula. They've all failed. Basically, from Jimmy Carter on up to Obama, this president looks like he might be able to get something done. And a lot of people concerned, though, about where the meeting is and should it be in the DMZ. I mean, I'm going to go to that meeting as a White House correspondent, wherever it is, but why not have it at the DMZ? I mean, if it doesn't work out, the president's already said, look, I'm just going to walk away. Some of the state people saying, well, that's on his turf. It shouldn't be there. It should be in Singapore or something. Does it matter where the meeting is?
Well, look, if Trump's instinct, I think, is to maybe do it at the DMZ, the State Department and the bureaucrats will say no. But remember, they told Reagan not to say, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. They've had a lot of bad advice over the years. So I don't think it's probably the most important thing. But if they did do it there, I think it would be highly symbolic. The most important thing, though, and I think the president's already doing this, is we're exercising as much leverage as we have. And just be willing to walk away, and Kim will have to face the consequences. I think we have to approach Kim with a huge degree of skepticism. I mean, he's sitting on top of a brutal tyranny, but at the same time, Trump's unprecedented campaign of pressure has clearly rattled him. So I think we're still a long ways to getting to where we need to be, but boy, I think that we actually have a chance, whereas if you go back 2 years, I would say there was zero chance that we'd get anywhere with the North Korea issue. Something has changed, and hopefully the president will be able to capitalize on that.
Well, look, Congressman DeSantis, this president has made more progress in bringing the North Koreans to the table than anybody has in 3-4 decades. Remember Bill Clinton when she sent Madeleine Albright over there with a basketball or something, how ridiculous that scene was, and Obama couldn't get anything done. George Bush couldn't get anything done. So now we have some real potential opportunity. By the way, the Republican primary and the Democratic primary in Florida to choose the nominees for U.S. Senate and governor will be August 28th. So you want to put that on your calendar. Be sure you get involved August 28th. I want to get to Amazon, if I may, and get to Florida. One of your opponents, sir, in this race, Agriculture Commissioner Adam Putnam, said about a week ago that he was in favor of offering all these state incentives to Amazon to come to South Florida. Of course, Amazon's got some real big issues now, but he was saying, look, I'm going to do incentives. I'm in favor as governor. I'm going to throw the kitchen sink incentives at them to get the jobs here in South Florida. What is your position on Amazon coming to South Florida and the state offering a myriad of incentives and favorable tax breaks in order to lure them here?
Well, I'd like to see Amazon come. I think that we have some good locations that they're looking at. I think they'd be able to do very well here. They're one of the most wealthy companies in the world. I would not give them tax dollars. So if you're talking about an incentive where we just cut them a check, I don't have any interest in doing that. Now, I do think that we have to incentivize capital to move here, and I'll use what tools we have, but when I'm doing it, it's not going to be me picking one business over another. What it'll be is, okay, we need workforce development. We're going to do some investments in workforce development for, say, technology in a certain sector of our state. That is really the way. But the best way to attract capital is to lower taxes, is to have reasonable regulation, and to improve our litigation climate and increase our workforce development. If we're doing those things, you're going to see businesses come. And what happens is, you will attract businesses you may not even be trying to attract because they see the incentives that you're creating. So those are the types of incentives I want to do. But if it's just cutting a major company a big check, that's not something that I think ultimately is sustainable.
All right, so the bottom line is, as governor of Florida, Congressman DeSantis, you would be in favor of giving Amazon tax incentives to lure them here, because even though they're a rich company, obviously, look, if you're Bezos and you're running Amazon and you're looking for a location, just like Elon Musk in Nevada, I mean, he shopped every state and got the best deal that he could possibly obtain in order to get his Tesla battery car manufactured there. So look, Bezos is a business guy. He makes a lot of money, but other states are going to be throwing everything at him in order to get him. I think what Putnam is saying is that Florida has to compete with that. Otherwise, they're going to be out.
But the way you compete with it is, yes, provide tax breaks for people who move companies here, but that's got to apply across the board. I don't want special breaks for just one politically connected company because I think that you want to be able to attract as many businesses as possible. So apply that, give people a tax holiday if they move a business here, but make sure everybody has access to that who may want to move their business to Florida.
All right, we're with Congressman Ron DeSantis from the 6th District of Florida. He's a Republican. He's running for governor. That'll be decided in a crowded Republican field on the August 28th primary. Ron, Florida's next governor could be Ron DeSantis, obviously. You've got the third largest public school system in the nation with just under 3 million students, 63% of whom are lower income. Over a third of the students are white, 1/3 Hispanic, 20% African American. What is your education vision for Florida, being that you're going to basically, as governor, preside over the third biggest school district in the nation?
A couple of things. One is, I'm a big believer in people getting college degrees and doing that, but I think it's important that we stress, particularly in the high schools, that a 4-year brick and ivy may be one way to get advanced knowledge and skills, but it's not the only way. And I think we need to increase our emphasis on concrete vocational skills. You can have gainful employment doing things like welding or things in other skilled trades, and it doesn't require you to go $50,000 in debt to get a degree that you're never going to use. I also think the hands-on training should include a stronger emphasis on computer science and technology. Those are going to be jobs that are going to need to be filled. And again, I don't think you necessarily will even need to do a full 4-year program. I think you could probably graduate high school if you have some proficiency there, do some apprenticeships, do some training, and be very marketable. So that's point one. Point two is we have to understand that public education in the 21st century is going to look different than it did 100 years ago. 100 years ago, and a lot of the Democrats cling to this model, you kind of raise revenue from one area. If a kid is zoned for one school, that's kind of where they go. And if it doesn't suit the kid's needs, kind of tough luck. We have to empower families to be able to do what's best for their kids. And so you see a model of this that Florida has done in certain discrete areas. For example, we have these Gardner scholarship accounts for children with special needs. And a parent can take that scholarship. They can go to their local public school. They can go to a different public school. They can go to a public charter school. They can go to a private school. But they could also use the scholarship money for therapy or tutoring or things that can also help their child succeed. So it's all public education, though, but it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So I'll be somebody that is definitely dedicated to continued innovation and choice in public education.
Well, what's interesting, Congressman DeSantis, is a lot of people don't know this. This is a huge number. Over 300,000 students in Florida go to charter schools. Now, you take that number in relation to 2.7 million public school students in Florida. 12%, get this, 12% of Florida's entire public student body is going to charter schools with their tax incentive money, some of the vouchers. I mean, Congressman, that is a huge number. Like, I've got states where it's like 1%. You got 12% going to charter schools. I mean, I don't think anybody can match that. Obviously, it's been unbelievably successful. What would a DeSantis administration do in order to keep that moving ahead?
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we've got to do that. Now, it's important to point out that charter schools, they are public schools.
Right.
They're just public schools that are free from all the rules and regulations and bureaucracies that sometimes make the traditional public school model resistant to change and reform. And so you have these, they're lighter, I think they're more nimble. But here's the thing. If the charter school doesn't work, then you can shut it down and try something else. You can't obviously do that with a traditional public school. So there's more accountability, I think, on the charter side, and obviously they can tailor what they're offering to the certain needs of families and students probably more easy. So we will definitely continue offering those as opportunities. And look, John, I'm also a big believer that if families believe that homeschooling is the right move for their children and for them, that they ought to be supported in doing that. And
right.
Florida has been generally welcoming with that. We need to make sure we're continuing to be welcoming, because there's definitely a movement in some states to try to disfavor people who are homeschooled, but sometimes that's the best option for folks. And so I want to empower parents to be able to do that successfully as well. And incidentally, some of these scholarship account programs that we have, and I'd like to expand, parents could actually use that for homeschooling. They can use that for textbooks and things that would contribute to them being able to homeschool their children more effectively.
Well, just you look at the numbers, exogenous of homeschooling. Apart from that, over 300,000 Florida public school students, their parents have chosen a charter school. That's an unbelievable number. Obviously, you guys are doing something right with that, and you're getting the success that comes out of it. It's way ahead of any other state that I've seen. Congressman, let's get to your main rival here on August 28th, Adam Putnam, Agriculture Commissioner. Tell our audience right now, if you were to have to give the top defining policy difference between yourself and Putnam, when people have to make their decision by August 28th, not discounting the other candidates, but top two right now, what would it be?
Well, we are very different on our approach to illegal immigration. When he was in the Congress, he supported the McCain amnesty. He even supported the Gang of Eight Schumer Obama amnesty when he was ag commissioner. He didn't even have to vote on it, but he supported it. He opposed bringing troops, putting troops on our southern border using the National Guard. And in Florida specifically, a major difference, I support mandatory E-Verify, because I think if you want to combat illegal immigration, you got to insist on us having a legal workforce. I think it's very important. He opposes mandatory E-Verify and worked to kill it when it was in the state legislature several years ago. And so it's a major difference, I think, in our approach to that. I'm somebody that stood for the rule of law, for strong borders, and to make sure that Americans come first when it comes to jobs and benefits. And he has not done that.
So biggest issue here, you would say, immigration, E-Verify, his record. And look, it sounds like Mr. Putnam, Agriculture Commissioner Putnam, is just part of the... Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's been in office since he was 22 years old, and has been a career politician. So when he was in his 20s, he's in elective office. When I was in my 20s, I was serving in Iraq and Guantanamo Bay and our military and things like that. So it's a much different, I think, approach.
All right. If people want more information, Congressman DeSantis, on your gubernatorial campaign, where do they go?
RonDeSantis.com.